Warning, if you were a part of BG Wealth Sharing, your BS meter is about to be going off. And it probably might even make your blood boil. I didn't read this entirely, but I'm going to read it entirely for you, and it's pretty lengthy. But the ending is pretty diabolical. You got to get to the end. It's pretty diabolical. So the messaging is coming from, whoever the professor, Stephen Beard, is. And your BS meter is about to go off. And for those of you who've been saying, hey, it was a scam, it was fraud, it was this and that, your I told you so, elatement, if that's a word, gratitude of feeling that I was right, is about to be ringing as well. So it seems. Now, I'm going to just get into it and let you feel how you feel about it, but prepare to have your BS meter going off, get your popcorn, but the end is what I would call diabolical. In the game of the world is a game of chess, and it looks like we just got played like checkers. Let's listen in. So it begins. Dear family, good day to you all. Please notify everyone immediately to come online and pay close attention to this group meeting. Given our ongoing and protracted negotiations with the HQIEX, coupled with the massive size of our membership base and the sheer volume of accumulated issues, the entire BG Wealth Sharing community will temporarily suspend the publication of daily trading signals during this upcoming phase of restructuring and adjustment. Yes, as of today, BG Wealth Sharing is pressing the pause button. Having weathered this storm, seeing so many of you still choosing to believe in and stand with BG Wealth Sharing fills me not just with immense gratitude, but with profound and genuine respect. Every single moment of these past 4 years has been deeply real and unforgettable to me. Together, we have scaled the highest peaks and traversed the darkest valleys. We tasted ultimate glory, and we endured countless heartbreaks. Yet no matter what, those days of fighting side by side, striving as one, and moving forward together are etched into my soul forever. Regrettably, as you have all witnessed, the relentless onslaught of external negativity, skepticism, mounting financial pressure have left me utterly exhausted both physically and mentally. I have poured virtually every single asset I accumulated over the years into this. I once truly believed that if we could just hold on through the darkest hour, we would eventually welcome the dawn. But sometimes one must admit that the capability of a single individual has its limits. Why did we choose 040 as the name for our group? Because within the culture tapestry of the Holy Bible, the number 40 has never been a mere digit. It stands as a profound symbol of trial, purification, endurance, and ultimately rebirth after enduring catastrophic suffering. In the beginning, I genuinely believed that we would mirror that very prophecy, that after weathering this storm, we would stand tall once more. I believe that even if we stumbled, we would rise from the ashes, reborn and ready for a new dawn. I held on to the unshakable faith as long as we stood together, as long as our conviction burned bright, victory was still within our grasp. But as the dust began to settle, I was forced to confront a reality far heavier than I had ever imagined. The tide of events has escalated far beyond what could ever be salvaged or controlled. What I once thought was mere a fleeting shadow of the night has turned out to be an eclipse far longer and infinitely more brutal than any of us anticipated. I admit, this time I lost. However, this is by no means the end. In the days ahead, I will immerse myself in deep reflection, sharpen my skills, and continue to research and develop more mature, stable, and superior trading model when the day comes that I'm truly ready. I will return to find you. It is my sincerest hope that by then, each of us will have achieved profound personal growth in our respective lives. The universe is vast, and life is a long journey. Perhaps somewhere down the road, our paths will cross again. To be honest, I have envisioned how to say goodbye to you countless times. What kind of ending could possibly do justice to the sheer turbulence of the journey we've shared? Yet, now that I'm actually standing at this crossroads, words fail me. It has been the absolute honor of my life to know you. Over the years, we broke through barriers, leaped over obstacles, and fought as comrades in arms. I will never forget a single second of it. I am so deeply sorry, but I now need to take some time to settle my personal affairs while continuing to pioneer new directions and uncover fresh opportunities. It may take a month, it may take 3, or perhaps half a year. But no matter how long it takes, once everything is primed and ready, I will return. I hope that during this hiatus, you will all elevate yourselves and thrive in your own right. When that moment comes, I will lead you once again, and together we shall make a triumphant comeback. Mark my words, there's no failure in my life. I either succeed or I learn. Celebrate the victories and remember the lessons. None of my efforts will ever be in vain. In everything I do, I either gain or I grow. I allow everything to unfold as it must, for everything that happens will ultimately work to my advantage. There are many things I still want to say to everyone, but perhaps it's time to press pause. However, before leaving, I still want to finish the meeting for everyone. Maybe it will help you someday, maybe not, but at least I want to stand firm in my post until the very end. A person's true growth invariably unfolds across 3 distinct stages. These 3 stages correspond directly to 3 titans of psychology: Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, and Carl Jung. It is a journey of cognitive awakening, moving from denial to ultimate acceptance. It is the classic evolution of perception. First, seeing a mountain as a mountain, then seeing a mountain no longer a mountain, and finally, seeing the mountain as a mountain once again. The first stage, attribution. At the dawn of our journey, we are beset by countless struggles, inferiority, hypersensitivity, vulnerability, and inertia. We reflectively blame ourselves, believing we were simply born flawed. It is a tragedy of a man already trapped, yet choosing to shackle himself even tighter, walking a path that grows heavier with every step. It is at this exact crossroads that our first mentor emerges. Sigmund Freud tells us every ounce of your current agony can be traced back to your past, rooted deeply within your childhood. Those flaws in your character are not inherent traits you were born with. They are the imprints left by the environment in which you grew up. Why do we consistently hesitate to fight for what we desire? Because from our earliest days, our voices were suppressed by our parents. Why do we perpetually seek to please others? Because we starved for attention as children. Why do we spend money so recklessly? Because we grew up in the shadow of material deprivation. Each time we uncover the root causes, it feels like untying a suffocating knot within our souls, lifting a crushing weight, and finally freeing ourselves from the prison of self-blame. Yet this is merely the first threshold. This fleeting sense of relief provides nothing more than an excuse, a comforting whisper of "it wasn't my fault," without ever truly solving the problem. Your agony persists, your predicament remains unchanged. You are an adult now, past the age of 18. You can no longer blame everything on your dysfunctional upbringing. The path of life must be walked on your own 2 feet. At this stage, you have merely conquered the mountain called the past. The second stage, choice. Many liken life to a game of cards. Before the age of 18, you can blame the universe for dealing you a terrible hand. But once you cross the threshold, you can only blame yourself for how you played it. This is when our second mentor steps in at this stage. Alfred Adler asserted, no experience is in itself a cause of our success or failure. We do not suffer from the shock of our experience, the so-called trauma, but instead we make out of them whatever suits our purposes. In essence, the hand you are dealt is beyond your control, but how you play those cards rests entirely on your shoulders. Some take a royal flush and ruin it completely, while others take a hand of garbage and play it to absolute victory. Faced with the exact same trauma, some will retreat forever, cowering inside their shells. Others will use that very wound as a whetstone to sharpen their resolve. You begin to realize that whether your life is a triumph or a tragedy depends not only on your past, but on your choices here and now. You transform from the helpless child crying on the floor into an adult who stands up and takes radical accountability. You stop cursing a rigged destiny and start mastering the art of playing your hand. Most people arrive at Adler's doorstep and believe they have reached enlightenment. They become fiercely proactive, relentlessly disciplined, and intensely goal-oriented. They achieve what society defines as success, living as titans in the eyes of others. Yet, even this is not the final destination. Success does not equate to fulfillment. Those darker shades of your psyche that you forcefully suppress will inevitably claw their way out in the dead of the night, mocking your achievements. Is this life of performance truly what you desired? You begin to stare into a gaping chasm, the profound void between the person you are supposed to be and the person you actually are. Masked and exhausted, you perform your role perfectly every single day, yet you have never once lived as your authentic self. At this point, you have merely descended the mountain called the present. The third stage, awakening. When you finally secure your foothold in society, you come to a harrowing realization. Your so-called stability is entirely built upon external scaffolding, the validation of others, social status, and material security. The moment these external anchors are ripped away, the vast void within your soul remains entirely unfilled. It is here that our third and final mentor manifests. Carl Jung famously wrote, "Every person has two lives. The first is live for others. The second begins when we live for ourselves. The second life, more often than not, truly ignites only after the age of 40. Before that pivotal threshold, you were merely in a state of preparation, accumulating scars, deciphering the world, and blind groping for your own identity. But living authentically, strictly on your own terms, only begins after 40. In our youth, we wander through endless trials and errors. Only when you have endured the trials of the first half of your life and fulfilled the heavy mandates imposed upon you by society do you finally begin to contemplate, how do I truly want to live? At this precise moment, you discover that you no longer care to appease others, nor do you desire to blend into the herd. You naturally, fiercely yearn only to become yourself. This profound sense of liberation and absolute stillness is what ancient wisdoms call the age of no confusion. Jung introduced a monumental concept, integrated in the shadow. The darker aspects of your psyche that you violently suppress do not vanish. They bide their time, waiting to erupt at a critical tipping point to completely dismantle your life. This is the anatomical root of the midlife crisis. Everything in this universe is destined. Your sacred duty is not to eradicate your darkness, but to radically accept it. Only by embracing your own vulnerability can you cultivate true ferocity and compassion. Only by integrating your own darkness can you truly illuminate the path for others. You begin to coexist with both your light and your darkness, no longer striving to be a perfect human being, but a whole human being. This is what Jung defined as individuation, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are, not the manifestation of your parents' expectations, nor a carbon copy defined by societal templates, but an entirely unique, sovereign entity containing all your light, all your darkness, and your divine spark of creation. At this exact moment, you have conquered the final mountain called the future. From attribution to choice, and finally to awakening, from Sigmund Freud to Alfred Adler, and ultimately Carl Jung, you have completed the grand evolution of perception, from seeing the mountain as a mountain to seeing the mountain as no longer a mountain, to finally seeing the mountain as a mountain once again. This is the ultimate transformation for an ordinary bystander to master creator, and finally to an awakened soul. This journey called life is by no means easy, but the ultimate destination it leads to is unadulterated freedom. May you clearly discern the road from whence you came, command the ground beneath your feet until you finally arrive at the distant shores. Time is the ultimate equalizer. It plays no favorites. No single soul is rationed more hours than another. Precisely because of the absolute truth, we must never squander time, nor dare to treat it as a given. Being late, procrastinating, or silently breaking a promise, these seemingly trivial oversights are in reality the most glaring acts of disrespect, forcing others to wait, slowly eroding their trust piece by piece, may appear harmless on the surface, but this silent act of sabotage inflicts a wound far deeper than any venomous word ever could. True character is always concealed within the microscopic details. It reveals itself in the absolute sanctity with which a person honors their word. It shows in how a person shows up, arriving early, punctuality, respecting an agreement. This is far more than mere self-discipline. It is a profound reverence for the finite time and energy of another human being. Those who truly respect time possess rare, invaluable virtues, a sharp sense of boundaries, raw sincerity, a deep empathy, because deep within their bones, they understand that punctuality is never just about the clock. It is the bedrock of trust. As Elon Musk powerfully articulated in an interview, you must remain optimistic about the future. Pessimism is completely worthless. It only breeds more negative energy. I would much rather choose optimism and be proven wrong in the end than choose pessimism and be proven right. At the very least, stand on the side of hope, because if you choose despair, existence becomes absolute misery. Ultimately, even if human civilization endures for millions of years, the universe itself will eventually dissolve into silence. Everything will fade into nothingness. This is the very nature of existence. Therefore, the meaning of life is never found at the finish line. It lives entirely within the journey itself. In truth, a real goodbye rarely unfolds with cinematic drama. There are no midnight confessions beneath a blanket of moonlight, nor is there a final shared toast before parting ways. More often than not, farewells are far quieter than that. On a perfectly ordinary day, someone simply becomes a chapter in your past. A story draws to a silent close, without warning, without fanfare, and without a proper ending. Life is an endless, recurring cycle of arrivals and departures. When people leave us, we desperately hold on, and when destiny brings them back into our embrace, we break into the most brilliant smiles. That, after all, is the very essence of human nature. Yet, behind every brutal winter, spring inevitably waits. So, if this is merely a temporary parting of ways, who is to say that our next reunion is truly so far out of reach? The epilogues of most stories look remarkable. The same two flowers blooming in different souls. Two souls walking towards opposite horizons. The reality is that many are simply not meant to stay forever. Some people are destined only to walk with us through a singular fleeting season of our journey. And if we are being completely honest, that in itself a rare and profound blessing. The struggles we endure together, the midnight oil we burned as one, the grand dreams we chase side by side, these will remain sacred moments or monuments that time can never erode. Perhaps many years from now, some of you will still remember that there was once a man like me, an ordinary man, flawed, obstinate, perhaps even a little mad, a man who refused to bow his head to the world, but instead fought with every fiber in his being in his unique way against reality and injustice. Perhaps he never truly mattered. Perhaps he never truly conquered. But at the very least, he lived with raw authenticity. He burned brightly, and he lived without regret. There remains so much left unsaid, and perhaps it will remain unspoken forever. But no words could ever fully capture the depth of my gratitude to each and every one of you. As my parting wish, I hope you will forever hold on to your optimism, never forget the art of loving yourself, and always guard your own independent mind and unyielding sense of self. May God bless you. Sorry, we'll stop here for now. Thank you for the beautiful memories that you leave behind. Thank you for the journey we've shared. Thank you for your unswerving loyalty. Thank you for being a part of my life. To my family, please take care of yourselves. Keep warm and don't catch a cold. Keep warm and don't catch a cold. That's diabolical. Metaphorically speaking, that is pretty diabolical to conclude like that. Now, if you haven't already, check out the recovery plan video that I dropped some time ago. You should be able to see it. It's in the cover photo, because I'm not sure if this will initiate the possibilities of tapping into the recovery plan video to help people get their funds back, because this does sound like the end. It sounds like everything's going to be shut off, closed, all of that, and he came with these this philosophy and things of that nature that, whatever. I'm sure your BS meter is going off. I'm sure your blood started to boil. I'm sure you was like, man, I got funds on there, and he talking about different. I'm sure all of those emotions are being felt. I'm pretty sure. But many of you have already chalked it up as, hey, it was a loss. We focus on skill sets, assets, and access going forward. We're ready for where we headed. And that's the best way to be, to understand that, and some truth of what he was saying. Listen, we learn from certain scenarios and then we get in position so that way we don't get played in this fashion ever again, because we know better. I knew better before joining BG in certain senses, because I turned it down initially a couple of times, like, nah, I'm good on that. But then later, I shifted from, okay, let me, maybe I see people withdrawing, people that I know, trust, you know what, let me go ahead and give it a go. Should have stuck to my initial guns, because it played out how it played out. Or was that a part of my journey? Because now I've been able to connect with you and have dialogue and understand, okay, it's people who are looking for solutions to certain scenarios, who are open to understanding, developing skill sets, acquiring assets, and gaining access. And that's where we're heading. And BG could have just been a stepping stone to that. So that's one way to look at it. Who's to say what's good or bad? Because sometimes the things that you think are bad that happen in life be the things that propel you to the new direction. And I know I'm sounding poetic as well, but that's just how my perspectives work in general. That way I don't get caught from an angle of something happening and me feeling helpless, when I, can be resourceful in that moment and figure out what are the solutions to this dilemma. That's my angle. But I definitely had my BS meter going off while scanning over that before I decided to share it. But while reading, I'm like, I know y'all feel where I'm coming from. And for those of you who are already, like I told you, listen, we get it. We know. We know. But for those of you who are tapped in and ready for the next level, then we're heading in a good direction. But it all boils down to what I've been saying: skill sets, assets, and access. Make sure you're doing those things, and those are things nobody can take from you. If you haven't already, check out the recovery plan video, just in case that gets initiated and we are able to tap into some funds. I don't know, it's not a guarantee. I even say that in the video, but I at least want you to have that video, because I reveal some resources and sites and tools and things that you can potentially use and tap into with or without me. That way you can see, hey, I'm able to do this, file this complaint, go here, do that. Oh, the funds got released, they were seized by the FBI or frozen or whatever the case may be. It gives you some touch points that you can tap into. So I highly recommend checking out that video. But I had to cover this, and I had really just released the video, and people were in the comments saying certain things, and I was like, what are they talking about? And I went to the bond chat, and this is exactly what they were talking about. That's all I got for this video. I want to hear your thoughts, your perspectives below. But we ain't stopping at BG. BG is just a stepping stone. It ain't, we understand, okay, they got us. Skill sets, assets, access. And that's going to take us to where we want to go. Freedom. Mr. Smith signing out. Salute.